What's one thing you wish you could change about your life? I'd change the day I threw away my grandma's junk. She lived with us after Grandpa died, and her room was packed with what looked like worthless trinkets. Ceramic cats lined every windowsill. Old postcards were stuffed in shoeboxes. Random keychains from gas stations cluttered her dresser, and vintage jewelry that looked like cheap costume pieces filled her jewelry box. My mom constantly complained about the clutter, saying it made the house feel cramped and dusty, and honestly, I agreed completely. When Grandma passed last year, my parents asked me to clean out her room while they handled the funeral arrangements and paperwork. I was ruthless and efficient. I filled 6 massive garbage bags with her collections and put them on the curb for pickup the next morning. Everything had to go. The ceramic figurines, the old magazines, the vintage clothes that smelled like mothballs, and boxes upon boxes of what I assumed were meaningless souvenirs. But I kept one thing, a shoebox full of old postcards that seemed different from the rest. They were addressed to someone named Betty from the 1940s, and the handwriting was beautiful, elegant cursive that you rarely see anymore. I almost threw them away too, but something made me keep them. Maybe it was the romantic tone of the messages, or the fact that they were tied with a faded ribbon. Last week I was bored and decided to Google some of the names on the postcards out of curiosity. Turns out Betty was a famous jazz singer from the 1940s who performed in New York and Chicago. And these weren't just any postcards, they were love letters from a Hollywood actor whose name I recognized from classic movies my grandma used to watch. I took them to an antique dealer downtown, just curious about their value. He went pale when he saw them, handling them with white gloves like they were ancient artifacts. Apparently, this Hollywood romance was legendary in entertainment circles, but no one knew these personal letters existed. The actor had been married to someone else publicly, making this a secret affair that historians had only speculated about. The dealer offered me $15,000 on the spot, but said they could be worth much more at auction because of their historical significance and rarity. I realized Grandma wasn't hoarding junk, she was a collector who knew exactly what she had. She probably knew the value of everything in that room, from the vintage jewelry to those ceramic hats that might have been rare collectibles. I drove straight to the dump, spent 3 hours digging through garbage in the rain, getting covered in mud and who knows what else, but those bags were long gone. They'd already been processed and buried under tons of new trash. I'll never know what else I threw away, what other treasures, what other pieces of history, what other valuable items that could have changed my life or preserved family memories. But those postcards? They sold for $47,000 at auction last month to a private collector who plans to donate them to a museum. The auctioneer said they were the highlight of the sale, and the story made local news. Now, every time I see something old, I think of Grandma and wonder what treasures are hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone who understands their true value. The worst part? I remember her trying to tell me stories about some of her things. She'd pick up a ceramic hat and start saying, "This one came from," but I'd tune out thinking it was just old lady rambling. Those weren't random stories, they were probably the provenance, the history that makes collectibles valuable. She was trying to pass down knowledge I was too impatient to receive. My mom found Grandma's journal last month while cleaning the attic. Turns out she'd been documenting everything, where each piece came from, what it was worth, who gave it to her. She had a whole system. One entry read, "Told the boy about the postcards again today. Hope he remembers their importance someday." She knew. She always knew I'd thrown away a fortune, but she never said anything because she didn't want me to feel guilty. That journal is now the most valuable thing I own, not because it's worth money, but because it's full of stories I'll never get to hear again.